Welcome to Relationship Mastery, a podcast for those who want to learn how to master the art of creating happy, healthy, and loving relationships. Please join me, Adey-Jones, and my co-host, Barry Selby, each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific for a lively and informative conversation on everything to do with relationships. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's show. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Del. We have another juicy topic this week.
Oh, I know. This is a good one. Barry sent me a link to a Vanity Fair article that I just read this week, and we're both very familiar with twin flames and soulmates and all that subject. But lately, there's been some controversy rather around the twin flames movement that has taken the world by storm. So I just watched the documentary and. Yeah, it's really interesting because especially in my work, when working with a lot of people that have suffered from codependency and have been in narcissistic relationships, that's the one subject when it comes up that I just go, oh no, don't stay in an abusive relationship because you believe that this person is your twin flame or your soulmate.
Yep.
So so that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the differences between twin flames and soulmates and the dangers.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Barry, why don't you jump in and give me your perspective?
Yeah. First, I want to underscore what you said, because that is the challenge. Some people will tend to excuse, is a pretty good word for it, bad behavior because they believe their partner is their soulmate or their twin flame. Perhaps erroneously. So that's why we're going to talk about the dangers in this episode. So that's one thing I want to put on the table as well and underscore. For me, I actually put a meme out probably 5 years ago about this. I'll paraphrase it now to the best of my memory. Is that God doesn't give you one soulmate. Now, let me preface that by saying some people think there's only one soulmate. So I'm going to say this first of all. God doesn't give you one soulmate because my belief system, God is a very kind, benevolent, loving God. I hope yours is too. That being the case, God wouldn't be so cruel as to give you one soulmate amongst 8 billion people because you never find them.
Yeah.
My belief is that if God's going to give you a soulmate, it's going to either give you a soulmate in many places or give you many soulmates all over the place. So you don't have to worry about trying to find your one person all over the planet. So first of all, relax. Secondly,
well, before you actually go into that, Barry, because I think we need to explain the differences between soulmates and twin flames.
Yes.
Because okay, so actually soulmates, people can believe that there are multiple soulmates. That's the reason I'm jumping in, is because actually, the concept of soulmate is really another soul that you come in contact with that is there for your personal growth.
Yeah.
You can have soulmates that you can have multiple soulmates in your lifetime. You can actually have soulmates that have nothing to do with a romantic connection. They're just there purely for your spiritual growth. So that's why I just wanted to say it's the twin flames that gets really, really sticky, because the twin flame belief is that you are actually the one soul that has split into two, into the masculine and the feminine. And that's where you're like, you've got to find your other, the other half of your soul.
Sorry,
well, that's what we're having to find that amongst the 8-10 billion people out there.
Well, let me add another piece of this, because I definitely agree with you. I've personally crossed paths with at least 3 soulmates in my life, where I had that knowing about this person, and definitely were not romantic. So I definitely understand that piece and underline what you said. I've been there, done that, so to speak. In the sense of the twin flame piece, and I'll say it now. I was going to say it later, but I'm going to say it now. My belief system is, and what I've learned when I studied over spiritual work for many, many years, is that each one of us is a divine soul, an incarnation in the human form from the great ocean of spirit, we want to call it. And so the idea of having a twin flame, meaning that you are only half of a soul, is diminishing you. So I have a bit of a pet peeve with the languaging, because some people say, but he's my other half, and we talked about this in episodes way long ago about, you complete me, the Jerry Maguire quote, that somehow I'm only half a person until the other person shows up. And all the languaging back in the old days about, she's my better half. No, none of us are half. None of us are diminished. We are whole. So twin flames buys into that, my belief. into that limiting perception. So,
Absolutely. And you know what else it buys into, which I
oh,
do not believe is
too.
true either, is that we are masculine or feminine. I
Hmm.
mean, how can we say, you basically, I agree with you completely. You're only half a soul. And by the way, that half a soul is either male or female. And that to me is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Because again, I believe that we all are made up of masculine and feminine. We all have the divine feminine, the divine masculine in us. And regardless of your gender that you come into this world as, you know, um, I know many women that are more masculine than their partners. Hand up here, sometimes I am.
Some
So,
my clients were like that, and some of my girlfriends were like that. Yes, absolutely.
and I love my partner, and he's got a beautiful, soft, wonderful feminine side, which is why I love him so much. So yes, I think again that the concept of the twin flame, you're only half a soul, and you're either the masculine or the feminine half of that soul is just that alone is enough. But I think more dangerous than ever, and this is what yes, it's bad enough when you stay in an abusive relationship because you believe that this person is your other half.
Yeah.
But what I got from that documentary that we watched, based on this article that was in Vanity Fair, is that these people were encouraged to violate other people's boundaries because they believed that they were their twin souls.
Right.
That meaning that they were harassing, they were stalking, they were breaking up marriages. They were completely out of control because they were told that this other person is your twin flame, the other half of you, and you have to stop at nothing to get them to acknowledge that and be your partner.
Yeah.
That was so scary to me, even scarier than justifying staying, not even scarier, as scary as justifying staying in an abusive relationship is
Mhm.
to become an abuser yourself.
The thing for me on that, it is the premise that you would trust your relationship choices to somebody else's authoritarian perspective on you versus you having the internal barometer, the internal. Um,
Guidance system, wisdom.
I was going to look at tuning fork. Same idea. Yes, the idea basically is that so many people, unfortunately, have bought into the paradigm, which is why they're in such codependent states, where they need somebody else to guide them, lead them, teach them, show them, force them in the right direction. In the work you and I do, we're there to counsel and to guide, but not from a place of telling them what to do, but advising them what might work better for them that they can choose into. Keyword choice. And so
Yeah.
this whole premise is set up such a master slave energy between the teachers and the students. And that for me is more than anything that they're doing. I mean, not more than, sorry. In addition to what they're doing about messing up marriages and all the other things they're doing that's so abusive, is the way that they've set up their teaching model is so abusive as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an error on top of error on top of error that makes it so challenging.
Well, I think you've just tapped on our next show, Barry, which is all about cults. Cults, how people fall
Oh,
into cults.
yes,
And,
yes.
and what you're describing is that cult mentality. And I'd even go so far as I do not I mean, people will ask me my advice, and I'm always like, you know what? My advice is for me. My inner guidance system is what's right for me. I
Yeah,
keep encouraging people to go back and listen to their own wisdom and
yeah,
trust themselves, because often when they've grown up in a narcissistic environment, like most of my clients, they've been told to override their internal system, their internal alarm system, their internal wisdom, their internal guidance, whatever we want to call it. But as I said, that's for the cult show. But this whole concept, and I love what you said, and I'd love to hear more from you because I've certainly had the same experience. But tell me more about what it was that you felt that these other relationships you commented on, where you felt they were soulmate, but not in a romantic way. What were the indications that you felt that they were a soulmate? What was happening
it's
for
hard
you?
to quantify in words, but the way I would describe it most simply was a sense of knowing. There was a sense where we
Yeah,
looked at each other. It's almost like we could see, like, I know you. Not from a place
yeah,
of, I'd like to get to know you and like, yeah, let's get in bed with you. It wasn't that energy. It was just like we've known each other before this lifetime. And that's the premise of soulmates, is that we cross paths with each other, if you believe in reincarnation, that you've crossed paths in previous lives and future lives, because that's part of the journey of soulmates. They weave together through life like a dance almost. And that was the experience I had. One of them was somebody who I thought initially when I met her, oh, she's got to be my partner because she's obviously I know her so well, and that sort of thing. She was in another relationship. But as soon as that moment, like in my head, passed, it felt like we were ships passing in the night that did recognize each other, know each other, but knew there was no need for us to connect at this point. It was that sort of like understanding that came through without any words spoken. So it was a kind of a knowing, is the best way you can put it.
Yeah, I love that. And yes, I totally agree. And that's another, there's a difference between a soul family that I do believe that often, we come down, my belief system is we're all sitting on a fluffy cloud up there going, okay, what do I have to learn next lifetime? Oh, I need to be an abuser. Would you be my victim? So I learn. And we come down with contracts. We come down, we agree to be there for each other. And whether that's a soul family or as you say, a soulmate, I completely agree. I mean, I believe that one of my biggest soulmates was my ex-husband, and not from the sense of, oh my God, he was the love of my life, which obviously for a while he was.
Right.
But, certainly I've had lots of many loves of my life.
Right.
But I say that because he was one of my biggest teachers. I learned so much about myself from being in that relationship. Not saying it was pleasant. It was very hard. But I thank him, and I'm grateful for him being a soulmate, for having helped me grow and learn and expand as much as I did within that relationship and outside of that relationship, based on what happened in that relationship. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. And I definitely put him in the category of having been one of my greatest soulmates. But again, as you say, I also see in my present partnership, but without a doubt, my soulmate. And in the beginning, because it was such a slow burn in the beginning, because I was so preoccupied with being a single mother, that it wasn't like, oh my God, I've met my soulmate. But over time, witnessing how I've grown in this very gentle, very loving relationship, I see that it's a soulmate situation again. It might not have had the fireworks and the drama that I was used to in my beginning relationships, where I thought, oh my God, this is my soulmate. But again, it's based on as you said, that recognition that this person is in your life, that you've been there, you've had many lifetimes before, and they're here to help you grow and expand within this lifetime is what I feel.
So a couple of observations. If there's lots of fireworks and pizzazz and stuff at the beginning, that's not usually a clue it's a soulmate. It could just be chemistry, just to be clear.
Exactly.
The second part on that, and I love the way you describe it, because that's what I think it's a lot about sometimes, is you meet somebody and it's like you can't put your finger on it, but something about them intrigues you. And then maybe after several months or a couple of years, it's like the veils, in quotes, fall away, and you go, oh, that's the person. It's like, I always knew, I had this fence all along, they were the right one, sort of thing. That kind of trip. So it sounds like you have that with your fiance, which is wonderful. The other thing I want to reference quickly, and I'm not sure I mentioned it in a podcast before, but I talked about this. There's a book by Neil Donald Walsh called The Little Soul in the Sun. It's a kid's book. And it speaks to what you said about sitting on the cloud, discussing with your other little miniature souls, with your other souls, your other soul family, what you want to come down to earth to work on. And yes, it's all fictional. However, there's a thread of truth through it that feels very real. And the way it talks about it is that sometimes the people who do you the most emotional, challenging impact, I'm using safe words for this, are actually your soul partners, your soul family that you've agreed beforehand to work some stuff out. And that's a big ask to believe that. So I'm just going up front. I mean, I read the book and it really put me back on my heels to go, is that real? Is that possible? So if you're interested in reading that book, I recommend you find it on Amazon or wherever it is. But it's a kid's book. You read it in probably half an hour. But the thing about this premise of soulmates is that, and I know that, who was I still listening to talk about this? I want to say it was like Lisa Nichols or Yana Van Zandt, one of those two maybe, and I could be wrong, but I think one of those two talking about soulmates being that they're the ones that really are there to hold you to your best. Because some people think, "Oh, I got my soulmate, I can put my feet up, relax, and coast." Like, no. When your soulmate shows up, if you do find your soulmate in this conversation, they're going to basically call you forward. They're going to, and not necessarily directly saying you need to step up. It's more about their presence will give you a invitation, almost a challenge to be better, to step up, to clean up your own house, so to speak. So the soulmate experience is a beneficial one for your own life, but it may be something you could do on your own before you get there. Just a little hint.
But you know what? I love what you're saying. And even though I had a very challenging divorce with my ex-husband, I would dream about him, and we would be like high-fiving each other and best friends, and really just has a very loving relationship with him in my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I could explain that is that I really do believe on a soul level we did contract what we went through together while we were sitting on that fluffy cloud.
Right.
We agreed on the roles we were going to play. We agreed that this is, was going to be very challenging in our earth suits, but it was actually going to be for our spiritual growth. And I firmly do believe that. And so that's partially why I'm so grateful for, for everything that happened within that time, as challenging as it was. So
Right.
actually it's not hard for me to believe in that concept. It brings me great comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't take things so personally. I realize that we're just, as I say, playing out these roles that we're here to play out. And underneath it all, there is that beautiful, loving spiritual connection that we have, and gratitude, especially being the father of my children. I have incredible gratitude for him helping bring these two beautiful souls into the world with me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a comfort. And we touched on this last week when I said we were talking about when we're deceived, and somehow we one of the comforting things I find is if I've either been deceived or had something stolen or whatever, I just put it down to, paid an old karmic debt, or as Barry said, paying a future debt.
Yes, I did say that, didn't I?
So, but it's in the same sort of thing. It just brings me peace. It brings me, an appreciation for everything that happens. I think we also touched on this on another show, that everything that happens is for us, not against us. It's all for our personal growth or our spiritual growth. So yes. So yeah, be on the lookout for many soulmates.
The opportunity is
Beware of the twin flame. I think that's the one that I have major issue, not with the soulmate so much.
Yeah. Well, basically, the thing for me, and I crossed paths recently with a couple of couples, and I felt the energy was interesting about how they declared their twin flame relationships. And this is two different couples, not just two people. I found it felt like it was almost a beseeching or a pining, almost like they were in a place where they were going, like, I dare you to prove me wrong that this is my twin flame sort of energy. Almost like defiance, another word for it. Also, it wasn't like an ease, like with the soulmate conversation. There's a presumption that people are just relaxed, like, I've got my soulmate, so easy, and it's graceful sort of feeling people tend to present. The twin flame ones, and again, this is just a couple of couples to talk to. It's not the overarching theme, but it felt almost a place of desperation. It wasn't relaxed. It wasn't easy. It wasn't just cool. It was almost overly enthusiastic. And I'm just naming all the qualities I experienced, and frankly, it felt false. It felt almost like if I believe it enough, it'll happen type energy, and that for me was definitely not supporting what I would believe a good relationship would be.
Yeah, I'm finding this. Number one, I've never ever, thankfully, I don't know people that claim that they're in a twin flame relationship. But
Different circles.
I do, I hear what you're saying, and I think that comes with, as we were talking about earlier, the difference in the description. The soulmate description is it's much looser. It's like, yes, multiple soulmates. We're here for, some of it's not harmonious, some of it is harmonious, but it's the understanding that we've been in relationship before with each other. and there's a deep knowing and a recognition, and however it plays out in this lifetime, it is, in service to us. Whereas the twin flame, like you were saying, it's like you're on the hunt, for God's sake. If I was only half a person, I'd be hunting for the other half of me too, and I would be very relieved if I thought somebody even remotely matched the concept of the other half of me if I was wandering around feeling slightly less than. So I
Gotcha.
can completely understand that the difference in the energy, that sort of hunting, looking urgency, must find to complete me, and once having found that person that you deem as your twin flame, the the grasping and the justifying and the minimizing and the fantasizing that can go into that to make the square peg fit in the round hole,
Right.
so I can completely agree with that. It's the energy feels very different. I was thinking when we were talking earlier about soulmates. I have a woman friend that we've become friendly over the last before COVID, just before COVID. So we never met in real life. We planned to many times. She was on the
Right.
East Coast, I was here, and we it just never happened in America because of COVID and things like that. And I met her in person for the first time about a month ago. She moved to Ireland, and I was over in the UK, and I was like, I'm coming to Ireland to meet you. We couldn't meet in the US, we'll meet there. And it truly is, to me, a soulmate relationship. It's a connection. It's been there from when we first met, and it was even, you know, confirmed when I met her in person. This is somebody that I've been in relationship with for many times during my life. And she's a woman and I'm heterosexual. So it has
Right.
nothing to do with romance. It's just to do with like, oh God, yeah. God, we've had lifetimes together and we really get each other. So
Yep.
it's a beautiful experience, and there is no grasping and no force and no desperation involved in it.
Right. So now I want to now spin it just the other way, just for a second, for those people who are feeling very romantic. I do know some people who have this experience because with the premise that you said exactly, that we have soulmates, people we've spent many lifetimes with. Sometimes it does show up as a heterosexual, or excuse me, as a romantic. 'Cause it could be gay relationship or straight relationship,
Yeah.
a romantic coupling that is soulmate based, that is actually very positive and isn't necessarily working out issues. It does happen occasionally that way. My belief is, again, my own belief. You believe what you want. Is that we go through lifetimes many, many times, and at some point in time we get better and better. Well, we're not working out such deep issues anymore. Like we've cleaned out the worst stuff, so lessons in each lifetime get a little bit nicer and easier, type thing. So when we meet soulmates on that level, my feeling is that the person we meet can be very complimentary. Yes, they're going to call us to our best, be better than, but won't necessarily take us to the depths of transformation and healing that we want to go through. It can be just very additive. And I've seen people who do have a soulmate connection that's very much romantic, aligned, and very positive. I kind of hold that value for myself going down the road, where being in alignment in life and in business and everything else is also complementary and so easy. So that's available, yes. So I try to make sure people hear that one as well, because it's not just they come into your life to give you the lessons you said you want to work on from the cloud up in the sky,
Oh, exactly, and that's what I say. I mean, that last one you just described, the lessons was 100% my ex-husband. There were lessons we both
Yeah,
needed to learn, and they were painful but necessary. But yeah, both the relationship I've been in for the last almost 14 years now with my fiance and with my friend Linda, they are there's zero drama in these relationships,
right.
but there's growth. There is. I
Yeah,
feel the growth. I feel the healing of some old wounds, but through a very loving, very nurturing, very caring relationship, reciprocal relationship. So there is growth going on, but it's just not the anguish growth that
exactly.
we can encounter.
And that's the promise, I think, of soulmate love, relationships of any sort, romantic or friendship or any of those things, is when you do, I mean, in a way, it's kind of giving you like a feedback saying, you've done all right now. You're doing all right. You can have this level now, because that's what it is in a sense. It's like you've graduated to a level of soulmate connection that is growth still oriented, absolutely, but is also very joy filled and positive and fun, frankly, because that's the gift of this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also for some people, the growth is in that they have maybe grown up in a dysfunctional environment. They don't have a healthy attachment style. They are closed off. They are wary of other people. They have a little bit of armor up or something like that. So with these beautiful, loving relationships, that can sort of melt all that sort of armor around you and have you just learn to trust, to
Yeah,
learn that love is safe.
that's the
And
gift.
yeah, that's the gift. So there is transformation happening, but in a
Hmm.
very gentle, very loving, very supportive way.
Absolutely. And I want to just jump back for a second, because when you mentioned this, I was like, I want to say something, but it wasn't ready for me at that point. This thing about the twin flame, masculine, feminine thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been involved in the conversation of masculine and feminine polarity since 2007, when my life completely changed because of it. So I'm very on board on this conversation. And absolutely what you said is true. We carry both inside of us. There are some people who deny that they can have the other one. They say, I'm going to be one because I want to be straight. It's like, no. Sexual polarity and sexual gender are two different things.
Exactly.
And so understanding that masculine and feminine internally to us are a polarity that is not based upon our body type or our gender or a sexual preference. It's just who we are, because there are masculine and feminine energies in a gay relationship and a straight relationship. Again, doesn't make a difference. The thing is that, as you said, and I'll underscore this, is we carry both energies within us. So for a lot of women, and as I said earlier, I date a lot of women like this. They're much more in their masculine than feminine because of the way they were raised or because of the work they do. But the feminine part of themselves is in there, just has been perhaps ignored or denied. And a lot of men carry very, actually not so much masculine, but macho ways of being. And so when they speak to the place where they're actually being more masculine, they open their hearts more, less ball driven, more heart driven. And so they have that place. But also, men can be very feminine and straight and strong. But it's something that, unfortunately, most men, one, haven't been taught, and two, they're afraid of understanding they can be soft as well. But the reality is, for all of us, independent of twin flames, carry both. And there's such a gift when we can actually play in the whole spectrum of masculine and feminine polarity.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Barry. You've just set up one of our future shows that we will be doing, where we will be diving much deeper into into the concept of. And I totally agree with you. And I think, and that's the other thing that I had issue with in that documentary I watched, was the fact that they were almost forcing people into these roles of masculine and feminine, and
Right.
not even so much as in the energetic role. They were encouraging people to have gender assigning surgeries, or change their names to a more there was so much coercion going on in there to fit the concept of this twin flame, a masculine side and a feminine side. And so it wasn't even sort of covering the fact that you could be in a gay relationship and just sort of have those roles within it and still be, in the case of the documentary, it was two lesbians. They had zero desire. One of them did not want to become a man. There was no way that she wanted to become a man. She was quite happy being, in a lesbian relationship. Both of them were, but there was
Mm-hmm.
this pushing and forcing into this concept of the twin flame, the masculine side and the feminine side coming together in union, and therefore it had to be acted out in the physical form. So very dangerous. I'm sorry, we might get some kickback from some people out there, but that's fine.
Actually, then I'll drop a little tease of something else that
Yeah.
I recommend. If you haven't watched it yet, and if you have Netflix, I recommend it highly. If you haven't watched a series on Netflix called Sex Education, you're missing out on a whole new view of life, love, and relationship. That is one of the best shows I can recommend to anybody.
All right. Gosh, Barry, you keep throwing out wonderful concepts. So we're going to be doing one on that too. But for this, thank you. That was wonderful. Great chatting with you, Barry, as always. And thank you again for joining us. And we will see you all next week.
See you next week. You take care of yourselves.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We trust you enjoyed this episode and invite you to share this with your friends and loved ones. In fact, please subscribe to our Relationship Mastery podcast. That way you'll get each new episode, fresh and shiny, as soon as it is released. We'd love to hear from you as well. So go ahead and enter your questions and comments at relationshipmastery.show. Take good care. We will connect with you in our next episode of Relationship Mastery.